The hour hand doth creep beyond the 8th, whilst I remain ensconced in this chamber, gazing upon the table I prepared with care some hours hence. On this, the 38th anniversary of my birth, the chambers of my dwelling seem vast and silent, echoing with a solitude most profound. In the morn's gentle light, I didst labor to set all in perfect order, gleaming plates, lustrous glasses, and a centerpiece of white lilies, which I did gather, for their countenance did inspire a sense of hope. The vessel of fine spirits, my cherished delight, remains sealed in the center, its golden hue capturing the radiance from the ornate chandelier above. I did believe that a soul would make their presence known. Perchance my progenitors, or a kinsman, or at the very least, fair Selina. Yet the chime of the doorbell remains absent, and the stillness doth grow heavy, akin to an unbidden visitor in mine abode. I recline in my seat, the leather groaning beneath my form, and endeavor to cast aside the burden that weighs heavily upon my heart. Though I am not one to indulge in self-pity, this occasion proves most difficult to overlook. As a craftsman of code, skilled in the art of unraveling complexities and dissecting challenges into their elemental parts, I find myself at a loss in the face of this particular conundrum. No soul appeared. No soul hath summoned a call. Once more, I cast mine eyes upon my device, yet naught is revealed. No missives, no calls unreturned, merely a vacant visage gazing upon me as if it shares in my dismay. Mine thoughts do wander to the notion of reaching out to fair Selina. She hath been distant of late, ever hurrying to meetings or weekends afar, yet would she truly forget this day, perchance? My thumb doth linger o'er her name, and ere I can ponder too deeply, I press the dial with haste. The bell tolls once, twice, ere her voice doth pierce the air, vivid and clear, as if she were a spirit of the stage. Good sir, Julian? Pray, tarry a moment. In fair Europe, I find myself in the company of thy brother. O fair continent, where myriad tales unfold. With Brooks, fair companion. The utterances struck with the force of an unforeseen blow. With a firm grasp upon the device, my knuckles pale as I endeavor to comprehend her words. She doth laugh, as if 'tis naught but a trifle, as though she hath not just abandoned me to sit in solitude on the day of my birth. Before I can utter a word, another voice doth intrude, Brooks, ever so smug and smooth in his manner. What purpose dost thou serve, good sir? She shall soon seek to part ways with thee, mark my words. His utterances linger in the air, weighty, as if they have long yearned for the moment of their release. I remain silent, offering no retort. Alas, I find myself unable to comply. My throat doth feel constricted, and the chamber appears to close in upon me. Separation of souls. Is this truly the nature of our affair? Is that the reason for her retreat, for her constant companionship with him rather than being present here? With nary a word, I didst sever the connection, my hand trembling as I laid the device to rest. The chamber grows ever more silent, if such a state can be conceived, and I sense myself descending into the very earth beneath me. In quiet contemplation, I linger, gazing upon the vessel of amber liquid, seeking to unravel the mysteries of the recent past. My brother, the one who doth bask in the limelight, the one whose coffers overflow, is now far afield with my beloved, whilst I remain here, encircled by dishes that shall see no use. In contemplation, I ponder the act of reaching out to my progenitors. Yet, I am well aware that they are likely engaged in some grand affair or leisurely pursuit upon the greens, too occupied to attend to my missive. They have ever been thus. Brooks doth shine as the luminary, whilst I remain but a humble fellow skilled in the arts of computation. With weary hands, I do rub mine eyes, wearied by this state of being, fatigued by the endless vigil for those who fail to appear. Lo, I perceive it, a gentle rap upon the portal. Mine heart doth leap, if but for a fleeting moment, pondering whether fair Selina hath altered her resolve, perchance if another hath recalled. I traverse the chamber, my foot falls muted upon the polished floor, and unbar the portal. Oh. It is Miriam, my venerable guide from days of yore at the university, gracing the scene with a bouquet of daisies and a smile so warm, it doth resemble a lifeline in tempestuous seas. Joyous anniversary of thy birth, Julian, she proclaims, her tone unwavering, as though she hath rehearsed this moment throughout the day. I withdraw, granting her passage, and within me a transformation stirs. Lo, she doth arrive. She hath made her choice to be present in this place. We gather round the table, and she regales me with tales of her new-found dwelling, her forthcoming leisure, and the art of baking she now endeavors to master. I fill 2 goblets with the amber elixir, and the fiery embrace brings solace, anchoring my spirit. In discourse we engage, and for the first occasion this eve, my thoughts stray not to those absent from our midst. Here I stand in her presence, and verily, it suffices. In due course, as she finds mirth in a tale of her feline companion, I reach for my device. To refrain from summoning any soul, to eschew the inquiry of missives, yet to capture a likeness in time's embrace. Here we stand, Miriam and I, grinning wide, the bottle of whiskey nestled betwixt us, with lilies gracing the backdrop. I do not ponder it with great intensity. I have but dispatched it to Selina. Neither title nor elucidation, merely the image itself. Then I do turn my device off, placing it face down upon the table's surface. This eve, her reply is of no consequence to me. As I gaze upon Miriam, deftly carving into the lemon pie she has graciously presented, a sensation stirs within me, one that has lain dormant for many a moon. Tranquility reigns. The stillness doth no longer weigh upon the heart. It is but a stillness, akin to an empty parchment yearning for the ink of fresh tales. I partake of a draught of whiskey, allowing its warmth to envelop my being. This day hath not unfolded as I had envisioned, yet perchance it is for the betterment. Perchance this marks the dawn of an unforeseen necessity in my life. I do lean in, eager to catch the words that flow from Miriam's lips, for in this moment, naught else holds my desire. At this very instant, this table doth stand, this glass doth rest. All else may tarry. It is a challenge to discern the precise moment when Selina began to drift from my grasp, yet in retrospect, I believe it was near the hour of our union. In this chamber of solitude, I find myself, months ere that forsaken anniversary, gazing upon a likeness of our union, captured on that fateful day of vows. She doth shine in her gown of purest white, her countenance aglow with a smile most fair, whilst I, beside her, stand somewhat rigid in my attire, yet filled with joy, truly joyous. In my heart, I believed her to be the very essence of all my desires. She possessed a grace most rare, the sort of lady who could enter a chamber and command the gaze of all present. As a marketing executive, she possessed a remarkable talent for engaging with others, bestowing upon them a sense of significance, be it amidst the grandeur of a lavish gala or the simplicity of a quaint coffee shop. In truth, I placed the image upon my desk, my fingers pressed against my temples, striving to unravel the tale of our journey to this moment. Upon the union's sacred vow, the tides of fate did shift, gradually at first, yet soon with a tempest's fury. She ceased inquiring about the course of my day. No longer did she join me upon the couch to revel in those cherished tales of science fiction that once captivated us both. Upon my return from the toils of labor, my mind brimming with the intricacies of code and the weight of impending deadlines, she would be ensconced in her device, engaged in the art of messaging or perusing, scarcely lifting her gaze. Merely matters of labor, she would declare, should I inquire. Yet her tone did oft pierce the air, as though I were intruding upon matters of greater consequence. I endeavored to dismiss it, assuring myself that she was occupied, that her vocation required much of her attention. Yet, lo, the weekends began to fade into the ether. She would prepare her satchel and declare her intention to visit companions or attend some gathering of connections, and I would acquiesce, not wishing to appear overly attached. Mine affections were deep, and love doth signify trust, dost it not? Yet verily, the reality was that I began to perceive myself as an outsider within mine own dwelling. I recline in my seat, the gentle murmur of my device suffusing the stillness around me. In contemplation of my brother Brooks, I find my thoughts wandering to his recent presence, though it is not by my side he lingers, but rather in the company of her. He hath ever been the boisterous soul, the fellow who doth scatter coin as if it were naught, the one whom our progenitors extol at each gathering of kin. He possesses his properties, his splendid chariots, and a manner of speech that ensnares the ears of those around him. Though envy doth not stir within my breast, I have long perceived that he doth bask in the admiration that hath eluded me. In my youth, I was the one who mended the household contraption, the creator of playful applications, yet to them I was merely skilled in the realm of technology. Brooks did shine as the luminary, whilst I remained but a mere spectre in his radiant presence. Thus, when Selina commenced her visits with him, referring to it as matters of kinship, I did not cast doubt upon it initially. In my heart, I yearned to trust that it was but a pure connection, that they were merely forging ties as she had now joined the fold of kin. Yet there exists a singular eve, perhaps half a year past, that lingers in my mind, refusing to be forgotten. Upon my return from a prolonged endeavor in the realm of coding, I found them gathered in our parlor, merrily engaged in laughter whilst partaking of fine wine. The atmosphere hung heavy, as if I had stumbled upon a scene meant to remain veiled from my gaze. "Oh, Julian, thou art returned," she spake, her tone overly radiant, whilst Brooks did smirk, reclining upon the couch as though he were lord of the manor. With a weary murmur, I spoke of fatigue and sought the solace of slumber, yet there I lingered for countless hours, gazing at the ceiling, pondering the reason for my diminutive sense within the confines of my own abode. Thereafter, the situation did indeed deteriorate further. She did speak of Brooks in a casual manner, recounting how he escorted her to a most select dining establishment, and how he was well acquainted with the influential figures that could aid her professional pursuits. With attentive ear and nodding head, I endeavored to offer my support, yet each utterance seemed to lay a heavy stone upon the chasm that grew between us. I began to perceive the way her countenance would brighten when she spoke of him, how her eyes would glimmer in a manner they had not for me in many moons. Oft would I beseech her to linger at home, perchance to share a repast, yet she would dismiss my entreaties with a wave, proclaiming her engagements, leaving me to dine in solitude at the kitchen table, the flickering screen serving only to fill the heavy silence. Though I bear no pride in this act, I found myself peering into her device whilst she bathed, not with frequency, but on a couple of occasions. The missives were not overt, yet their presence lingered in the shadows. Brooks doth dispatch her jests in the form of memes, to which she responds with mirthful emojis, and thus they conspire to convene for libations. There be naught I could identify and declare, "This is amiss," yet sufficient to cause my gut to writhe. I did not dare to face her. I knew not the way. I am not one to raise my voice or create a tumultuous spectacle. With reason as my guide, I approach each dilemma with methodical precision. Yet, this conundrum proved to be one that eluded resolution through mere strokes of the quill. Upon gazing once more at the wedding portrait, it doth seem as though it is a relic of another's existence. With a heart full of affection, I cherished her in silence, as I do all things, yet now I perceive that I was but a whisper in the symphony of her existence. She yearned for the limelight, a glow I could not bestow upon her, not as Brooks might have done. I shut mine eyes, allowing the burden of it to rest upon me. Uncertainty looms ahead, yet I am aware that I cannot persist in this manner, dissolving into the very fabric of my own tale. I seek a path to reclaim my worth, if not in the eyes of others, then in my own heart. Upon the couch I find myself reclined, within the confines of my humble abode, a mere week before the celebration of my birth. My laptop lies open yet neglected upon the coffee table, a silent witness to my contemplations. The stage hath dimmed, casting my visage upon the glass, and I scarce know the man who gazes back, weary eyes and a jaw clenched as if in perpetual strife. In earnest pursuit of my labor, a novel enhancement for the healing arts apparatus I have toiled upon for many a year, yet my thoughts do wander, drawn inexorably to my kin, and the manner in which they have oft rendered me to feel as though I am but a shadow of sufficiency. Though this sentiment is not novel, this eve it pierces deeper, akin to a brilliance I cannot dismiss. No soul hath inquired of my natal day, nor even sent a missive to discern if I partake in any revelries of note. With bated breath, I find myself gazing upon my device, yearning for tidings, perchance a missive from my mother or father, yet the display remains devoid of any word. It is but folly to hold such concern, I am aware. Though I have reached the age of 38, I find myself not as a mere child anticipating merriment, yet the stillness around me bears a weighty significance, as if they have collectively resolved that I am unworthy of their endeavor. I recline, my hands traversing the contours of my visage, allowing my musings to drift to yesteryears, to the countless seasons I endeavored to find my place within a kinship that scarcely beheld my essence. In the days of my youth, the focus was ever upon Brooks. He was the boisterous one, the wit, the lad who could weave his words to escape peril and earn a commendation for his cleverness. I was the reserved soul, the one who would prefer to dismantle a contraption of circuits rather than engage in the sport of tossing a leather sphere. Mine progenitors were at a loss as to how to guide my wayward spirit. My mother would declare, with a dismissive air, that he merely possesses a knack for machines, as if it were a pastime destined to fade, rather than a talent capable of transforming destinies. In those days, I bore little concern. I reveled in my realm of circuits and code, where reason prevailed for those who toiled with patience and diligence. Yet it pricked my heart when they would forsake my scientific endeavors to revel in Brooks' athletic triumphs, or when their voices would rise in boastful praise of his latest venture while I toiled in the adjacent chamber, crafting the very software that ensured the seamless operation of emergency rooms. Verily, I have uttered naught. With steadfast resolve, I toiled on, striving to demonstrate my worth in my own manner, harboring the hope that perchance one day they would take heed of my efforts. They did not. Upon reflection, I find myself pondering the final gathering of kin I attended, perhaps a year past. In a grand establishment chosen by Brooks, adorned with transparent walls and libations of extravagant cost, the scene was set. My progenitors stood by, their faces aglow as he regaled them with tales of his latest abode venture, casting figures into the air as if they were mere trifles of celebration. As I took my seat opposite them, I found myself toying with my meal, biding my time for the moment to unveil the triumph my team had achieved in the noble endeavor of the hospital project. It did not arrive. Each time I did part my lips, Brooks would swiftly interject with yet another tale, whilst my progenitors would chuckle or incline their heads, captivated by his every utterance. Selina was present as well, seated beside me yet not truly engaged, her gaze fixed upon him, her laughter ringing a touch too boisterously. Mine own recollection doth evoke the sensation of observing a performance in which I was not bestowed a role. As the evening waned, I had scarcely uttered a mere handful of words, and yet none took heed. After that fateful eve, I ceased my attendance at those gatherings. I did convince myself that my preoccupations were the cause, yet the verity lies in my weariness of remaining unseen. Lo, I rise from my repose, traversing the chamber, my stockings whispering against the carpeted floor. The chamber doth seem too vast this eve, as if it seeks to engulf me entirely. In contemplation, I ponder reaching out to my mother, merely to ascertain whether she recalls the approach of my birthday, yet I find myself unable to summon the courage to act upon this thought. What if she doth not? What if she doth dismiss it with some pretext of their overwhelming busyness? Forsooth, I have toiled in vain, striving to don the mask of indifference, to be the man who seeks not the favor of others, yet alas, this charade doth falter and crumble before me. Within me lies a fracture, akin to a shard of glass that clings to its form yet trembles on the brink of shattering. I pause at the casement, gazing forth at the twinkling city lights that dance in the shroud of night. Text methinks I ponder upon the nature of kinship, wherein a family doth appear not solely for grand occasions, but also for the humble instances, such as a day of birth or a commonplace Tuesday, when the heart yearns for a listening ear. Never have I encountered such a thing. In my youth, during the festive seasons, I would sequester myself within the confines of my chamber, engaged in the intricate art of gadgetry, whilst Brooks and my progenitors conspired in merriment beyond my threshold. I did assure myself that solitude was a sweet companion, yet now I find my heart in doubt. To be solitary doth not equate to being forlorn, and I find myself awakening to this distinction. Mine thoughts dwell upon Selina, for she doth seem to withdraw, choosing to share her hours more with Brooks than with my own company. Methinks I ponder whether she doth partake in this affair, if perchance she hath resolved that I am not deserving of her presence as well. The contemplation doth weigh heavy upon my breast, yet I stifle it, unprepared to confront its truth at this moment. With measured steps, I return to the couch, retrieving my device once more, perusing the list of names therein. There exists not a soul to whom I might reach out, nor one in whom I possess sufficient faith to confide. My heart doth ache, and I am at a loss to comprehend why this sorrow doth strike me with such force. Mine thumb doth linger above the name of Miriam, mine erstwhile guide from the halls of learning, yet I refrain from pressing it. Years have passed since last we spoke, and what words could I possibly summon to bridge the chasm of silence? Did my kin forsake me? That I am filled with dread at the thought of my beloved spouse forsaking me for my own kin? It doth ring most woeful, even within the confines of mine own thoughts. I laid the device aside and shut mine eyes, allowing the stillness to envelop my being. This hath transcended mere neglect. It is a matter of grander design, a tale that hath been woven through the fabric of many a year. It is naught but abandonment, clear as day, and I find myself at a loss as to how to mend this wretched state. All I know is I can no longer bide my time, hoping for their transformation, yearning for their gaze to fall upon me. In this hour of despair, I find myself yearning for action, for any deed that might lift this heavy burden from my heart. With mine eyes unsealed, I cast my gaze upon the laptop once more. Perchance the toil of the day doth not hold the key this eve, yet it is a craft in which I excel, a realm I govern with certainty. As I take my seat, rouse the glowing visage before me, and commence my scribbling, I find myself ensnared in the well-known cadence of creation. Though it be but a trifling endeavor, it serves as a beacon, a gentle nudge to my own spirit, affirming my existence, even when the world may overlook my presence. Lo, I find myself ensconced at my humble desk, a fortnight ere the celebration of my birth, with naught but the soft luminescence of my device casting its solitary glow upon the chamber. The chamber lies in silence, as it hath for many a night of late, whilst I peruse the missives upon my screen, striving to concentrate on mine tasks, yet feeling that well-known pang within my breast. Selina doth venture forth once more, to some gathering of labor, as she hath proclaimed, yet I inquire not further into her affairs. Verily, I perceive she shall not divulge the truth unto me, and I find myself too weary to pursue it further. As the day of my birth approaches, I find myself pondering the silence that surrounds it. Not a word from her, nor from my kin, and even my colleagues remain mute on the matter. Though I desire not a grand celebration nor a lavish gathering, the thought of another year slipping by unnoticed pricks my heart more than I care to confess. I recline in my seat, my fingers weaving through my locks, gazing upward at the expanse above. In this moment, I yearn to embark upon a venture most distinct, one that resonates with significance and purpose. In that moment, my thoughts drift to Miriam, my esteemed guide from my days of scholarly pursuit. She was the singular soul who beheld me, not merely as a craftsman of code, but as one brimming with thoughts, a being deserving of heed. Years have passed since last we spoke, not since she departed after my graduation, yet whispers reach mine ears that she hath returned to the city, now in the twilight of her days. My fingers doth linger upon my device, and ere I can dissuade mine own self, I discover her number and make the call. She doth answer on the second toll, her voice a gentle embrace, as if no moment hath slipped away. "Julian, what a wondrous surprise," she doth exclaim, and merely hearing her utter my name doth lend me a sense of steadiness. We engage in discourse for a spell, conversing of her new-found abode, of my occupation, and then, in a moment of unguarded candor, I let it slip. As I approach the eve of my 38th year, I yearn for a modest gathering, a select few to share in the evening's repast. Wouldst thou come? In a moment's stillness, I find myself breathless, fearing I have transgressed, yet she replies, "I would be delighted. Pray, inform me of the time and place." I depart with a buoyant spirit, as though I have embarked upon a journey toward a truth most profound. As the hour of my birth draws near, I find myself within the confines of my humble abode, whereupon the table lies adorned with plates I have meticulously polished, and the whiskey, a fine selection chosen weeks prior, rests in the midst, awaiting the revelry to commence. The hour hath struck 7, yet none doth grace this place. Neither the fair maiden nor kin, none shall be included. Though I strive to resist the lure of mine own device, I find myself unable to quell the urge, for still there are no missives nor summons to be found. I did summon Selina earlier, and she did chuckle regarding her sojourn in Europe with Brooks, his self-satisfied tone intruding upon the discourse about separation. I didst hang up, dispatched a likeness with Miriam anon, and didst turn mine device off. That task is now complete. In my endeavor to cast aside the pangs of sorrow, a gentle yet distinct chime of the doorbell doth resound. Mine heart doth soar, if but for a fleeting moment, as I traverse the chamber to unbar the portal. Lo, there stands Miriam in the corridor, a bouquet of daisies in her grasp and a dish wrapped in foil, from which wafts the sweet scent of lemon and sugar. Joyous anniversary of thy birth, she proclaims, her gaze alight with a grin that doth evoke the warmth of hearth and haven. I withdraw, granting her passage, and the burden I have borne throughout the day begins to ease. She doth arrange the blossoms in a vessel I knew not existed, prattling on about her new-found ventures in the art of baking since her days of toil have ceased. Behold, a pie of lemon, quoth she, as she unveils the delicacy. I pray it be fit for consumption. With a sudden burst of mirth, I find myself taken aback by the sound of my own laughter, and I reach forth to procure 2 goblets for the amber elixir. We gather round the table, and she lifts her chalice, her gaze fixed upon me. To thee, Julian, she doth proclaim. To the soul who crafts with purpose, even when the eyes of the world are averted. Her utterances struck me with great force, not for their embellishment but for their veracity. She gazes upon me, as I have longed to be regarded, and for the very first time this eve, I sense that I am sufficient. We discourse on all matters, her days of instruction, my most recent endeavor, and the transformations the city hath undergone since our paths first crossed. She recounts a tale of a pupil from her past, one who bore a resemblance to my own self, a soul reserved yet possessing a fierce spirit when faced with the trials of resolution. Verily, I recount to her the marvels of the hospital software, how it hath preserved lives in manners most unforeseen. It is not a boastful claim. With her, it is as if the weight of the world doth lift, for I need not don the mask of pretense. The spirit doth warm the throat with a gentle fire, and the pastry exceeds her own modest estimation, a delightful balance of tartness and sweetness intertwined. Time doth slip away, and I remain unaware of its passage. My thoughts stray not to fair Selina, nor to Brooks, nor to the kin that bore me. In this fleeting hour, I find myself in the company of one who appeared when all others did forsake me. In the twilight of our repast, as we gather the remnants upon the table, I, in a moment of unconsidered impulse, seize my device and capture a likeness of our assembly. Mine arm doth encircle her shoulder, and we both wear smiles, with a vessel of whiskey and blooms in the backdrop. I have no intention of dispatching it. It is solely for mine own self, a token of this eve's remembrance. Yet, my thoughts drift to Selina, her laughter ringing in my ears as she spoke of her time with Brooks, and I find myself drawn to my messages. Lo, I dispatch the likeness, devoid of utterance, merely the visage. It doth not concern the art of inciting her envy nor the pursuit of retribution. It is a matter of shutting a portal, of declaring that her presence is not requisite for the significance of this day. Once more, I silence my device and lay it aside, experiencing a tranquility that has eluded me for many moons. As Miriam weaves her tale of the feline mischief that led to the untimely demise of a potted plant, a hearty laugh escapes me, a sound of genuine mirth that has eluded me throughout the day. The chamber doth no longer echo with the silence of solitude. Here we sit at this humble table, beneath the cloak of night, and lo, it is more than I ever dared to dream. I pour another generous measure of whiskey and recline in my chair, allowing her dulcet tones to envelop the chamber. This day of birth, though not as I envisioned, hath turned out to be the very one I required, and for the present, that sufficeth. Upon the morn succeeding my day of birth, I find myself at the kitchen table, surrounded by the vestiges of revelry past, empty vessels of whiskey, a lemon pie, now but half consumed, and the daisies, brought forth by Miriam, bowing gently in their vessel. The chamber lies in stillness once more, yet it is not the oppressive silence that lingered yesternight. It doth feel gentler, as if the realm itself grants me a fleeting respite to draw in the air of life. Mine device hath remained silent since I dispatched that likeness of myself and Miriam to fair Selina, and I find myself unprepared to awaken it once more. Verily, I am aware of the burdens that await me, missed calls, messages, perchance even voicemails, and I find myself lacking the vigor to confront them at this hour. As I cradle my warm mug, the steam rising like whispered secrets, I reflect upon the eve that has passed. Miriam lingered until the hour grew late, and in our discourse, we unearthed thoughts long buried, words unspoken for many a year. It was not merely a reunion, but rather a gentle awakening to my true self, the one who once dared to dream grandly before becoming ensnared in the pursuit of others' approval. Still doth my mind dwell upon her toast, upon the crafting of things of import, when suddenly my device doth vibrate upon the counter. Alas, I momentarily activated it to peruse my work correspondence. I grasp it in my hand and lo! The screen doth illuminate with a flurry of notifications, 10 missed calls from Selina, then 20, and now 30 as yet another doth arrive. I allowed it to slip into the realm of missed calls, my finger poised above the glowing surface as messages appeared in swift succession. Porchi. The initial one doth read, "Pray, respond to my query." Then Julian, prithee, this jest doth not amuse. As I gaze upon the lines, a subtle grin dances upon my lips, not from joy, but rather from the familiarity of the tale unfolding before me. She bears no sorrow for her absence, nor does she lament the solitude I faced on the day of my birth. She is most vexed by the image, by the notion that I may not be here, poised in anticipation of her arrival. I laid the device upon the table, its visage aglow, and beheld it tremble once more with a fervent buzz. Yet another summons, yet another missive, yet I do not answer. Instead, my thoughts dwell upon Miriam, how she appeared in times of solitude, how she required naught but my true self. We did converse of visions under the moon's gentle gaze, reflecting upon those I once cherished ere the bonds of matrimony entwined my spirit, ere I began to gauge my existence by the desires of others. I did express unto her my desire to construct a creation grander than mere software, a venture that might transform the manner in which souls connect and find solace. She did lend her ear, truly attentive, and proclaimed, "Thou art already engaged in that, Julian. Thou hast merely ceased to hold faith in it." Her utterances lingered in my mind, akin to a key engaging a mechanism I had not perceived before. I rise from my slumber and make my way to the window, gazing upon the city as it stirs from its nightly repose. Chariots meandering through the thoroughfares, luminescence waning in the edifices yonder from my own. In this realm, I find myself merely enduring, not truly existing. In the weary passage of days, I toil endlessly, returning to a desolate abode, yearning for the gaze of Selina to fall upon me, longing for the echoes of my kin to acknowledge my presence in this world. Yet on the eve past, whilst seated opposite Miriam, a revelation dawned upon me. I yearn not to persist in such endeavors. I desire not to be the wretch who lingers for those indifferent to my very existence. Once more, my device doth vibrate, and I cast mine eyes upon it. Another missive of voice, perchance Selina in a fit of rage or sorrow, or mayhap a blend of both. Mine ears dost not heed. I extinguish it entirely this time, consigning it to a drawer as though I am sealing away a source of distraction. Her voice is but a whisper in the winds of truth. I perceive reality without its sound. She hath departed for many moons, perchance longer still, and I have been too proud to acknowledge the truth of it. Mine thoughts do wander to Brooks, as well, pondering his self-satisfied utterance upon the telephone yestereve, regarding the matter of divorce as though it were a foregone conclusion. Perchance it is so. Perchance this hath been the destined course all along. Yet if the curtain falls, it shall not be upon their decree. It shall be upon my own. I tread back to the table, lifting the whiskey glasses with care and bearing them forth to the sink. The ritual of cleansing them, drying them, and stowing them away doth provide a sense of stability, as though I am making room for fresh beginnings. Once more, my thoughts drift to Miriam, recalling her discourse on virtue from the eve past, where she expounded that love transcends mere emotion. It is a deliberate choice, a steadfast pledge to be present, even amidst trials. Such affections have eluded me, neither from fair Selina nor from my kin. Yet, I experienced it on the eve past, that fleeting, tender instant shared with one who bore no obligation to my presence, yet willingly graced me with their company. I cleanse my hands and resume my seat, gazing intently upon the pie before me. I sever a portion for mine own self, though the hour hath scarcely struck 9 in the morn, and I partake of its flavor. The sharpness stirs my senses, and a smile graces my lips as I recall Miriam's merry laughter when she cautioned me of its potential imperfections. It surpasses mere perfection. It is true and sincere. I partake of my sustenance with great deliberation, allowing my musings to find their repose. Uncertainty looms before me, yet I am resolute in my decision to depart from this dwelling, this existence, for I shall not linger in anticipation of change that may never arrive. I must embark upon a journey, to construct anew, to seek those who behold me as Miriam doth. In contemplation of my toil, I reflect upon the craft to which I have devoted countless seasons, and the souls it has influenced, all whilst I remain in the shadows, unacknowledged. Perchance the hour hath come to emerge from the obscurity, to cease concealing behind my craft and to embrace the fruits of mine own labor. I conclude my repast and recline, sensing a modicum of steadiness within me. The hours unfold before me, and for the first time in many moons, they do not seem a mere trial to endure. It doth seem a moment to commence anew, to discern mine own desires, rather than those imposed upon me by others. I require not the summons of Selina, nor the jests of Brooke, nor the sanction of my progenitors. I seek mine own essence, my thoughts, my fortitude, my decisions. With a resolute rise, I seize my device and unveil a fresh parchment of thought. It is not a script this time, but rather an empty parchment awaiting the quill's embrace. Though the path before me remains shrouded in uncertainty, a stirring within beckons me forth, akin to the dawning of a quest whose true essence eludes my grasp, yet I sense its necessity. The device doth remain within the confines of the drawer, whilst the realm doth linger beyond its threshold. Forsooth, in this moment, 'tis but I, and that sufficeth. Lo, a week hath passed since the day of my birth, and here I find myself amidst the confines of mine own abode, encircled by the cardboard vessels into which I have diligently placed my belongings this morn. The space doth appear diminished, bereft of the cherished tokens that rendered it my own, volumes of prose, portraits encased in glass, and the beloved chalice from whence I sipped my brew. I take my leave not for want of coin, but for the burden of dwelling in a chamber that echoes with the remnants of a life I no longer desire. Selina doth remain in Europe, absent from her abode since ere my birthday, and I shan't tarry for her return. I shall no longer bide my time for any soul. As I bind a parcel of garments, my hands work with a mind of their own, whilst I ponder the journey I have traversed in these recent days. It commenced upon the morn following my day of birth, when I silenced my device and resolved to seize the reins of my own fate. Upon mine own desk I did repose, crafting a scroll of tasks that beckon my attention, and thus I set forth to labor. In the beginning, I took heed to safeguard all my vital technological endeavors, a multitude of codes, designs, and every creation I have wrought for the hospital's software and more. All is now secure, ensconced within a steadfast drive I safeguard in a lockbox of sturdy design. Though the reason eludes me, a fervent whisper urged me to safeguard that which is rightfully mine. Then, I ventured into the vast realm of the internet and discovered a post office box bearing my name, hidden away in a place known to none but me. I have arranged for my correspondence to be redirected, thus ensuring that all matters of significance, be they invoices or professional affairs, find their way thither rather than remaining here. Though it be a trifling matter, it doth feel as though I am severing the bonds, cleaving away from this abode, this existence. The most momentous stride was taken yestereve, as I did affix my signature to a lease for a new abode in a distant city. It doth rise high, aged and weathered, with bricks laid bare and a vista of a river that doth shimmer in the morn's light. Upon discovering it in the vast realm of the internet, I did summon the landlord forthwith and hastened to behold the abode on that very day. In that vacant expanse, I found my breath unshackled, as if the very atmosphere had been purified for my solace. Though it lacks the elegance of the polished abode I depart from, it is a dwelling that I can call my own. Neither reminiscences of fair Selina nor whispers of brooks or my progenitors linger in the recesses of my mind. Merely a canvas untouched, I seize another vessel from the heap in yonder corner and commence the task of securing my tomes, enshrouding them tenderly in a cocoon of bubble wrap. Each tome resonates with a fragment of my essence, the fantastical tales I devoured in my scholarly days, the intricate guides I perused to hone my craft, a cherished anthology of verse bestowed upon me by Miriam long ago. I linger, grasping that final piece, and a smile graces my lips as thoughts of her dance in my mind. She did send me a missive yestereve, merely to inquire after my well-being, and I did inform her of my impending relocation. Well done, she replied in kind. Construct a creation anew. Verily, that is my endeavor, albeit I remain uncertain of its visage as of yet. Upon yon counter lies my device, yet it remains largely in slumber's embrace. Verily, I engage it solely for matters of labor or to summon those whom I hold in esteem. Selina hath ceased her incessant barrage of messages, yet I am certain she shall soon lay eyes upon the documents of our separation. That is yet another deed I undertook this week. I did summon forth Ira Delgado, a companion from my days of scholarly pursuit, who hath now taken up the noble profession of law. We did convene for a cup of coffee not many days past, and I laid bare all that was within my heart. Selina's journeys with Brooks, the manner in which she doth withdraw, the call on her day of birth where he spoke of separation as if it were his own conception. Ira lent an ear, refrained from casting judgment, merely inclined his head and inquired, "Dost thou seek to depart? I shall render it pure and unblemished." I did convey to him my desire for peace, seeking naught but an equitable division, to which he replied that he would prepare the necessary documents. They await, nestled within an envelope upon my desk, directed to Selina at her place of toil, for I am unaware of her current abode. I penned a missive to accompany them, neither wrathful nor theatrical, merely a single line. Thou didst depart ere I had the chance to linger. Verily, to utter such a truth, even in ink, doth feel akin to releasing a burden most weighty. With great care, I bear a box to the threshold, placing it atop the others, awaiting the arrival of the hired movers. The arrangements are straightforward. Much of my furnishings shall remain, for the new abode is already adorned, and I desire naught that evokes memories of this place. I shall retain my devices of modern craft, my tomes of knowledge, my garments, and a handful of cherished items, such as the whiskey vessels bestowed upon me during my celebration of birth. All else may take its leave. As I cast mine eyes about, ensuring naught has escaped my notice, I behold a frame upon the shelf, containing an image of myself and fair Selina, captured at the shore in yesteryear. I take it in, pondering her smile, and muse upon the moment it ceased to hold truth. Mine eyes do not weep, nor do they harbor sorrow, yet a certain remoteness envelopes me, as if I gaze upon the existence of another, detached from my own tale. I laid it down, leaving it for her to discover, or perhaps not. It matters not henceforth. I make my way to the kitchen, procure a vessel of water, and rest against the counter, pondering what fate hath in store for me next. The new city lies but a few hours hence, distant enough to embrace a novel beginning, yet near enough to return for toil should the need arise. On the morrow, I shall convene with my comrades and impart unto them the tidings of my remote endeavors for a spell. They shall not heed, for my craft is steadfast, and I have ever fulfilled my promises. Yet a fragment of my soul doth ponder whether I am prepared to rise, to cease my retreat behind the veil of toil, and to embrace my true self with courage. I do shake my head, casting the thought aside for the present, advancing one step at a time. With measured steps, I return to my desk, grasp the envelope containing the fateful documents of separation, and discreetly stow it within my bag. I shall deliver it to a courier service anon, ensuring it reaches her office ere her return from the fair lands of Europe. Uncertain is her response, perchance a call or an appearance, yet fear hath fled from my heart. I do not flee from my fate. I tread upon a path that leads to brighter days, a course of mine own design. I seize my keys, cast a final gaze upon the dwelling, and venture forth, securing the portal in my wake. The corridor lies in stillness, a gentle chill caressing my flesh. Lo, I find myself unburdened, as though I have cast aside a superfluous shroud. The chime of the lift resounds, and I take my leave, prepared to bid farewell to this abode. Whatever may follow, I shall not gaze behind. In this new abode, I find myself a week hence, within the loft I have secured. The morning sun doth cascade through the lofty windows, casting its golden hues upon the